All right, today we're going to talk about cost of living in St. Petersburg, Florida. St. Petersburg is the 5th largest city in Florida, and it is the 2nd biggest city in the Tampa area. Let's get into it. I'm Sam and welcome to the Living in Tampa, Florida channel, where every single week we make videos about what it's like to live, work, play, and move to the Tampa, Florida area. If that's something you want to follow along with, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell so you get notifications for all of our new videos. I am a licensed realtor in the state of Florida, so if you have any real estate specific questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And also, if you just have any questions about the area or about this topic, don't forget to comment down below and ask those questions so I can answer, so locals can answer, and things like that. All right, let's get into cost of living in St. Petersburg. Let's start just with a little bit of St. Petersburg information. So let's look at the location. See right here on the map, St. Petersburg can kind of be seen as this whole area, this whole peninsula, but it's really just this southernmost point and then eastern point of this peninsula right along the Tampa Bay. St. Petersburg is an integral part to the Tampa metro area. So it's kind of known as Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater. That is what's called an MSA, a metropolitan statistical area. That area is about 3 million in population, and this whole area is kind of measured as one area. Of course, that area could be expanded down into Sarasota and Manatee County and all the way up into Spring Hill, but you got to stop at some point. You can't just make it bigger and bigger. So right around 3 million, it's really the Tampa area. St. Petersburg, being the 5th largest city in Florida, has right around 270,000 people. And you know, that's still a pretty small portion of this bigger area because there are a lot of other towns that make up this metro area. St. Petersburg is in Pinellas County compared to Tampa, which is in Hillsborough County, and Pinellas County is the most densely populated county in the state. When you look at the population density compared to other counties in the US, it's in like the top 40, and it compares right to like Richmond, Virginia. So it's not super dense. It's not LA, it's not New York, it's nothing like that. It is denser than the rest of the state though. And this county, Pinellas County, is often the beach county that is talked about. So there are a lot of very popular beaches here, going all the way from Clearwater Beach down into these beaches that are right to the west of St. Petersburg: Madeira Beach, Indian Rocks, St. Pete Beach, and Fort DeSoto. These are all very, very beautiful beaches, and you can see some of these shots here. Like, these are just cool, funky little beach towns. And they're not actually connected to St. Petersburg, so you have to take another road to get over there. They're not St. Petersburg addresses. I mean, even this one area is called St. Pete Beach. It's not even St. Petersburg Beach because they changed the name. The locals all call it St. Pete Beach, so they voted to change that years ago. And the city of St. Petersburg is often referred to as St. Pete as well, so excuse me if I kind of slip back and forth on those. Interesting story, or I don't know if it's a story or a myth, how the town got its name. These two guys kind of purchased a lot of this area, and their names were John C. Williams and Peter Demons, or Demons, I don't know. He was a Russian guy. I can't pronounce his real name. These guys purchased some big plots of land in the area and decided they were going to start a town. So the story goes that they flipped a coin, and whoever won the coin toss could name the city. Peter won the coin toss and named the city St. Petersburg. He spent the majority of his youth in St. Petersburg, Russia, and he was very fond of the city. John C. Williams, a Detroit native, got the honor of naming the first hotel, the Detroit Hotel, which is in downtown St. Petersburg and is no longer a hotel but has some nice condos in it. But the building is still there. This town and this county is often talked about as a very popular retirement destination. And even my extended family, my in-laws that live here, they grew up here and they're in their 60s and 70s, and they talk about St. Petersburg as like a retirement town. And as kids, that's what they thought of it as. That's just how they perceive that area. Of course, it's very different now, and we're gonna get into some of those details. St. Petersburg kind of focuses around the downtown area, which is right along the water. There's a big marina there, there's a bunch of museums, there's wonderful, wonderful restaurants and a lot of walking areas. There's the beautiful Vinoy Hotel, which has been added onto but is a very old hotel. There are condo high-rises, and then to the north and south of this area there are some very, very nice, beautiful homes. These homes are very expensive. These homes are $500,000 and up, and a lot of them are older. You know, if maybe there's some newer custom homes, and those are going to be even more expensive. But there are some areas along the water that have water access for a boat and things like that. And those areas are very expensive. But this downtown area with the restaurants and shopping and entertainment and waterfront is the heartbeat of the city. Actually, there's a new pier that was built, the St. Pete Pier. The new one was opened in 2020 and has this beautiful viewing area and restaurant out at the end. It's a very modern looking building. It's a very fun kind of area to go and explore. All right, so if you want to live in the St. Petersburg area, let's talk a little bit about home prices and options. There are a lot of condos. A lot of these condos have really high HOAs, so if you're not retiring and moving to a fixed income lifestyle, they're probably too expensive because those monthly expenses that you're just stuck with are a lot. There are all kinds of condo options. There's high rises, there's, you know, the 20, 30-story buildings, but there's also the smaller 4-story buildings and places like that. And all kinds of, you know, studio condos and whole penthouses are available. You can find condos for right around really not right around, starting at $200,000 and up, and they can get very, very expensive. There are a lot of single family homes in St. Petersburg as well, and they really kind of start around $300,000. Those homes at the lower price range are quite a bit older. So if that's not something you're into, if you're wanting a newer home, if you're wanting that kind of a look and feel to your home and to your neighborhood, then St. Petersburg is probably not the best place for you. Because St. Petersburg is such an old town, there are a lot of old historic neighborhoods. My favorite one is actually the neighborhood of Kenwood, because it's a little more like moderately sized houses. I mean, of course, like the old Northeast area, like that area is beautiful, but those homes are so like unattainable in my mind, and probably for most of you as well. You would really struggle to find a house in that area for less than $500,000 or $600,000. And even those would be smaller houses. Kenwood, a little more in that $300,000 range, and a very interesting area. And all of these neighborhoods kind of have parks in the middle, a lot of brick roads in the area, and kind of a very charming feel. But not all of this stuff has been fixed up. So even in the Kenwood area, there's a lot of houses that still need a lot of attention. So if that's something you're into and you want to buy a house and really put some of your own sweat equity into it, some of these areas, some of these neighborhoods, you have a lot of potential to build that sweat equity yourself. I was watching someone's video, some YouTuber in Canada recently, and he was talking about why he lives in the city of Hamilton in Canada, and he described it as grungy. And I really appreciated this description, and he compared it to Detroit actually. And he liked that kind of like blue collar grunge feel to a city, and that's really why he moved his family there. And St. Petersburg does have areas like that, but not just grungy in terms of like dirty or even dangerous, but it's grungy in terms of very blue collar, old area, and there is a big art scene, and you see that kind of displayed throughout the area. And art is not always perfect and clean, and you see that in St. Petersburg, and that I actually really like that, and you might like that as well. And of course, it's not so much like that in the like waterfront areas. Like those areas are a little more polished, a little more put together. But as you go into the city, as you go like west across the city, you see a little more of that. I get contacted by people wanting to move to Florida all the time, and they're often scared of waterfront areas. And of course there is threat of floods, but the term flood zone does not imply flooding. It implies the possibility of flooding. I grew up in Oklahoma, and I grew up in the tornado alley, but that doesn't mean we had to like hide from tornadoes all the time. Of course we did occasionally. I remember a few times in elementary school being in that bathroom for like hours. It seemed like it probably wasn't that long, but you know, kids make things longer and bigger in their memories. So it's not that flooding is like incredibly likely. It's possible further from the water, it's not as possible. It's not like the whole peninsula is going to be flooded. And there's also like mitigations for those kind of things. That's why throughout so many neighborhoods, you'll see canals, you'll see like water, like areas that water can move before it is going into a house. And although there are hurricanes very rarely circle all the way around the state of Florida and continue circling to Tampa. They often circle around and then hit like Alabama, Louisiana, or even like further up north in Florida, like Pensacola area. It's kind of hard for them to make that additional turn, and then on top of that, for them to come into the Tampa Bay would be another obstacle. All right, if you don't want to buy a home or a condo, renting is an option, but rent keeps going higher and higher in St. Petersburg. Actually, on some real estate investor forums that I follow, St. Petersburg is often talked about as the fastest growing rent in the country, especially over the past 5 years. Rent over the past 5 years grew about 60% in St. Petersburg. And then just in 2020 alone, it grew another 12%. So rent is high. You're lucky to find even a 2-bedroom place for $1,400-1,500. Rent is expensive in this area, but the surrounding towns do get a little bit cheaper. All right, work in St. Petersburg. If you are wanting to work in St. Petersburg, first of all, St. Petersburg is talked about in certain communities as like a potential startup spot or a good place for small businesses to grow. And the biggest employer in the area is actually Raymond James, which is a financial services company. They're the main sponsor of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they have a big office in St. Petersburg. They employ around 4,700 people in the area. Other big employers are hospitals and medical offices. So Johns Hopkins, St. Anthony's, Bayfront, with those employing 3,700, 2,100, 1,500 people. Those are pretty big employers, pretty big operations in the area. Another fun one that makes the list of the top 10 employers is the Home Shopping Network. As a kid or as an adult, I'm sure you remember the Home Shopping Network, and you may have even bought some things off of there. Of course, as a kid, I always wanted to, and my mom would never let me. But the Home Shopping Network is based here in St. Petersburg. One time I was hosting an open house down in the St. Petersburg area, and one of the hosts of the Home Shopping Network came in and took a look at the house. And it was interesting to talk to him about his job and his perception of the area as well. But maybe you don't want to work in the St. Petersburg area exactly. If you need to commute to Clearwater, getting to downtown Clearwater is about 30 minutes, give or take a few, depending on traffic, that kind of thing. And commutes to a lot of areas are right around 30 minutes. So if you need to get to downtown Tampa, if you need to get to even to MacDill Air Force Base, those are all right around 30 minutes. A little bit faster to get to the airport, actually, 25-30 minutes to the airport if you are traveling a lot for work. And travel is an important thing to consider in the St. Petersburg area because the downtown is very walkable. So if you're in a condo downtown, there's so much you can do without a car. But the area is a very car-dependent area. There's not good mass transportation in the Tampa or St. Petersburg area. So you do need a car to get around this area. Average income in the St. Petersburg area is right around $60,000 for a family. But check out my other cost of living in Tampa video to hear me break down kind of like what the actual expenses are related to living in this area. Because just throwing a number out there doesn't really help that much. So I want you to have more tangible information. So that video will give you some ideas. Property tax in the area is right around 1%. It's actually a little bit less, but I like to say 1% because there's always some city-related property taxes on top of the county taxes that are going to be levied against you. Sales tax in Pinellas County is 7%. Income tax, there's no state income tax in Florida, but you are always going to have your federal income tax unless you have found a way to escape that. Insurance. Homeowners and car insurance is expensive in Florida. Homeowners insurance averages out to be about 0.5% of the value of your home. So if you live in a $300,000 home, that means your homeowners insurance is about $1,500 a year. And if you live in a higher risk area, of course it's going to be higher. And car insurance is $2,700 to $2,900 a year. And I feel like those numbers are so high, I still don't I still haven't met anyone that pays that much for car insurance in this area, but those are always the numbers that are talked about. And keep in mind, car insurance numbers are higher because there's more car accidents. That's the only way that insurance companies can hedge against claims, is if they charge more. If you're moving down here, make sure you are careful on these highways. It's a lot of stop and go highways, not always big, fast interstates like in a lot of states. And of course, there's going to be big, fast interstates in between towns, like in between Tampa and Orlando, but not necessarily in between St. Petersburg and Tampa or St. Petersburg and Clearwater. These roads are quite a bit slower, and even the highways often have lights on them, like traffic lights. Groceries, that's another common expense you're gonna have if you move, and I'll leave that up to you to figure out how much your groceries are going to cost, because people say they're like 3% more here, but they seem about the same here to me as other places I've been, except for like big cities where it makes sense for them to be more expensive because of infrastructure and getting things in and out of big cities. But they're pretty common here. You have a lot of options. Publix is the big grocery chain around here. But down in South Pinellas County, you have Whole Foods and Aldi and Walmart and all kinds of stuff. Crime and safety is another thing I am asked about a lot. I actually recommend Realtor.com to look up crime mapping data for the St. Petersburg area. And I also want to encourage you to keep something in mind, that most crime occurs between people that know each other. So if you're moving down here and you see that, violent crime happens in this certain area, just avoid that area, or just associate with people that you know won't commit violent crimes against you, or you believe they won't commit violent crimes against you, and protect yourself and your family. Based on the car insurance rates down here, it seems more likely that someone will die in a car accident than as a victim of a violent crime, but I'm not that sure. How do you know if St. Petersburg is right for you? If you want to live close to the water, if you are ready to retire and live that condo life with a really cool walkable downtown, this is a really nice spot. It actually does feel like a smaller town. I actually had some clients in town from LA recently, and they were really interested in the St. Petersburg area. But then after being there for a couple days, they decided this feels too small. We're used to LA, we want a little more of a city vibe. St. Petersburg feels too small. So that might be a good indicator of what it will feel like to you. To people that live in LA, it feels very small. To me, I grew up in rural Oklahoma, it feels like a pretty big city. So that retirement condo life, if that is not for you, there are other categories that will enjoy St. Petersburg. If you just want to live in kind of a funky area, what I referred to as grungy, if you want to live in one of these little historic areas like Kenwood, you like that old charming brick house, and you want the really good food that St. Petersburg has to offer. Also in festivals and museums and all these other details that we'll go into in other videos. But St. Petersburg does have a lot to offer. And so if you want to live in that charming neighborhood and access all that stuff, you might really love St. Petersburg.